Okay, you know what? So now that this movie is officially a thing, I have just one question. When am I gonna get my Curse of Strahd movie, man? Come on, that's totally a movie waiting to happen. So Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is based on the long-running, still very much popular, tabletop role-playing game of the same name. And when I say popular, I do mean popular, otherwise I would not be playing this game on weekends. Curse of Strahd. It's the best. And for any D&D fan out there, this movie is pretty much what you're already picturing. But it's also a heist movie, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, the movie has Honor Among Thieves in the title. But it follows this star-studded group of adventurers led by Edgin, played by Chris Pine. They steal this very evil and bad object from someone who's just as evil and bad, and now they must go on a quest to get their hands on this magical plot MacGuffin that's going to help them save the world and take down the bad guy. Basically just your classic D&D campaign in a nutshell, which is really funny because when I was watching this movie, I could almost picture an actual DM having his players make checks and roll dice. Honor Among Thieves had no right to be this fun and entertaining. It's just really insane to me that in the year 2023, Dungeons & Dragons is more popular among the masses than it's ever been. People I know who I would never suspect of playing this game are playing the game and loving everything about the experience. If it truly wasn't that popular, movies like this, as well as Vox Machina, would just not exist. This movie does that thing that Vox Machina does very well, in that it does a really good job of adapting what might have been a normal D&D campaign at one point. You can tell when someone might have failed to save or had to have made a check in order to do something, because the dice is what holds all the power, my friends. From a fantasy comedy standpoint, casuals are probably going to get a kick out of this movie. But for people who have played D&D and love the game, they're probably going to get just a little bit more out of this, I believe. Because there are callbacks and references everywhere throughout this movie. Plus inside jokes that you'll only really understand if you've ever played Dungeons & Dragons. They reference Mordenkainen, Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter, the Underdark, and they said they were going to the Underdark in this movie. I'm not gonna lie, for a moment, I thought they were gonna go there and fight Lolith, the demon queen of spiders. As cool and badass as that would have been, I do understand why they didn't go that route. Plus there's a big running joke in this movie about paladins and how good they are at combat, but they completely suck ass in social situations. Little niche inside jokes like that plague this movie. So a lot of the comedy and comedic relief never really feels that forced or awkward. That also just comes down to the pacing. The pacing in this movie is really well done. There is absolutely never a dull moment in Honor Among Thieves. And when it comes to the story, it's not the most complex story ever told. For this movie, I feel like it doesn't need to be. Sometimes the best stories are probably just the most simple ones of all. Honor Among Thieves gets its characters from point A to point B, and that's good enough. Plus, every character in here gets a moment to shine, and there's always something interesting going on. Plus, I also think this movie does a really good job of kind of fleshing everybody out. You can tell everyone involved is just having a blast. Like, it's so infectious. Chris Pine, you can tell, is loving this, and he is just completely in his element the entire time. His character Edgin has his own goals and ambitions that really drive him, the main one being his daughter. A D&D character that doesn't have their entire family wiped out? Huh. Imagine that. Chris Pine did a really good job. Plus, he's just really good at playing that scoundrel with a heart of gold persona. Ghost Stealer, though, is Michelle Rodriguez as the character of Holga, which she is a badass. Everyone in Hollywood wants some good women empowerment? This is how you do it. She is just a tank that decimates everyone and everything. But she kind of has a softer side, and she clearly has a story leading up to where she is now. And I guess that's really another thing that I really like about Honor Among Thieves. It could have just been a straightforward action comedy, but it's never afraid to have heart, and it's never afraid to put its characters in vulnerable positions. Those little moments of fleshing these characters out allow the audience to connect with them more. Take Simon the Sorcerer. He just wants to prove to everyone around him that he's not a loser. Very relatable. Honestly, I think we've all been there at one point. I do kind of wish we had seen more of Reggae John Page's character. He's the paladin I was referring to earlier. He just kind of shows up, does some cool shit, and then pieces out before the climax. That's part of the joke. If he sticks around, he's so good that he can literally solve all their problems. Take my advice. Paladins, don't mess with them. Ever. Now, I do have some gripes about this movie because, let's face it, I like the movie, but it's still not perfect. You guys really thought I was going to give this movie my gift from the gods rating? Come on. Now, these are going to seem like some nitpicks to some people, but when you're making a movie based off the world's most popular role-playing game, shouldn't there be a little more character variety? I mean, yeah, we got our bard, we got our barbarian, we got our sorcerer, we got our druid, and we got our paladin, but mostly everyone here is either a human or an elf. I wouldn't have even known Doric was a tiefling unless she hadn't pointed it out. Because normally when I picture a tiefling in my head, they don't necessarily look like that. They more or less look like this. Like, this is Dungeons and Dragons. Put a drow or a damn dragonborn in that party. Put a damn Kenku or a Goliath in there, like something for variety's sake. Also, the villain. Look, I get it. It's D&D, so traditionally, you do need to have a villain for the heroes to fight. There are so many worlds in D&D filled to the brim with intriguing and memorable bad guys. Strahd, Orcus, Vecna, Asmodeus, that's just to name a few. You can make a villain that's about as intriguing and interesting as the characters that we're following. Her being evil just for the sake of being evil does not make her intriguing or memorable. I don't know, that's just me. All I'm saying is they probably could have done a lot better with her. If anything, Hugh Grant's character was a more interesting villain. He's sly, cunning, he's got a lot of charisma, and he's just a douchebag the entire time. Bigger does not always equal better. I keep saying that. Guys, in the end, Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves gave me the most fun and entertaining theater experience I've had so far this year. I laughed till my stomach hurt, and plus, I just had a really great time sitting in the theater just fanboying out all over the lore and callbacks that this movie was giving me. Still think they could have gone a little crazier and had a better villain, but none of that really took away from just how fun and entertaining this movie was. Keep telling people we need more movies like this. They're fun and they don't insult the audience. I'll say Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is definitely going into my collection. Woo! Oh my god. Like, I've been standing here for 30 minutes trying to record this. I'm tired now. Like, this review exhausted me. Holy shit. I told you guys I would get this review up. I told you. But thank you all again for watching. Drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel, like I said. And as always, I'm the Unbiased Movie Nerd, saying peace, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace out, everybody.